Are you gonna join? No? Okay, we're gonna scratch our face on the books. Aki is probably gonna make a few appearances in this video because he feels like it. Hello! It is currently the end of August, so I'm a little late on this, but I'm going to be doing the mid-year Book Freakout Tag. I've wanted to do this for a while and just haven't gotten to it, so we're gonna do it now. So, without further ado, I will just jump into it. This isn't one of the questions, but I have read 43 books this year, so we're going to talk about a few of them right now. Okay, so the first question is, what is the best book you've read this year so far? And this one was actually kind of hard for me because there's two that kind of stuck out when I read the question, but one of them ended up working for another challenge. So the book that I am going to talk about right now is An Absolutely Remarkable Thing by Hank Green. If you follow me on Instagram, you already know that I am obsessed with this book. I think I mentioned in the last few videos that it's one of my favorite books of all time now. I have posted a lot of my pictures on there. I think I have 4 or 5 pictures with this book on it. I'm absolutely in love with this. This is a book about a art student, or I think she's an art school graduate. Her name is April May, and she is walking home from work one day. Hello. Good stretch. She is walking home from work one day and she ends up finding a metal statue that basically she has no clue about. She has no clue when it arrived, and apparently, as she finds out, the majority of the world also doesn't know how they arrived, and there's, I believe, 52 of them around the world, and people are just trying to figure out what they are, if they're an alien life form, what's going on. And it's kind of, she ends up making a YouTube video and becomes a YouTube celebrity based on these things. So she becomes the advocate for these statues that have arrived around Earth that they're not really sure about. And yeah, I just loved everything about this book. It made me emotional. It made me think about things. It made me, yeah, it was really, really, really good. I really loved it. And it's one of my favorite books of all time. So if you haven't already, I would highly suggest you pick this guy up. Yeah. Okay, so the next question is the best sequel you've read this year, and my answer for that guy is City of Ashes. My fireplace just turned on. We're gonna continue anyway because it's very cold in my house. This is the second book in the Mortal Instruments series. I think I talked about this in my last video, but I'm kind of steadily getting through these books. So I finished the second one and I loved it. I don't really read a lot of series, so I think I only read 2 series this year in general. So, but it is this guy. I don't really want to talk much about this because it's a sequel, but basically it is the second book in the Mortal Instruments series. So basically we are introduced to all of the characters of the first book, and it's kind of a continuation of that story. There's a lot of people that have talked about these, so if you want more information on what these books are about, I will link some people down below. I'll probably link one of Emma's videos down below because it's her favorite series and she is very knowledgeable and very good at talking about them. So I will link Emma's video down below if you want to hear more about these, but yeah. Number 3 is a new release that you haven't gotten to yet, and if you listened to me on the first challenge, you probably know what my answer is, but it is A Beautifully Foolish Endeavor by Hank Green. This is the second book in, I think he has decided that they're called the Carls, that is the series name. This is the end of the story. I've had this guy since release day, and for some reason I just haven't gotten to it. I think I've tried a few times, but I'm currently in a reading slump and haven't been reading anything. So that's not fun, but this is a continuation of that story. I'm hoping to get to this very, very soon. I wanted it to be my next read, but I'm trying to get through some easier stuff right now so that maybe I can pull myself out of the reading slump. If you guys have any ideas for me to get out of the reading slump, please comment down below because I am struggling so hard. But yes, it is this guy. I'm so excited. I also got a signed copy, so I don't know why I haven't read it yet. I don't know why I haven't gotten there yet. Okay, so the next book is my most anticipated new release for the rest of the year, and that is Sick Kids in Love by Hannah Moskowitz. I think that's the right way to say it, but like I said previously, I suck at names. I recently found out that the release date for this has been pushed back to next year, so I guess it doesn't really count for this year, but I'm gonna count it because I was very excited for it. I first heard about this book by Ariel Bissett. She was talking about it in I don't even remember which video it was. If I can find the video, I'll link it down below. If I can't, she's talked about this video in the podcast. She's talked about this video. She talked about this video on the Books Unbound podcast, and she's talked about it on a few videos, I believe now. So this book is about a girl with rheumatoid arthritis, and she basically has said that she is not going to date anybody because she has too many things and it's too complicating, it's too difficult. But I presume because it's called Six Kids in Love, she finds some sort of love interest. I actually suffer with 2 chronic illnesses myself, so reading about people with chronic illnesses that are even similar to mine or even completely different, I think it's a really good experience for me. It gives me a lot of comfort in knowing that people kind of know what I'm going through, even if they're suffering with different things. So yeah, I'm very excited for that guy, even though they changed the release date. So if anybody has a way for me to get a copy of this before that, please let me know. Please. Number 5 is my biggest disappointment, and I'm actually going to knock on wood. This is brick. I don't have wood around me, but I don't have any. I've actually had a really good reading year this year. I haven't had any books that I've even remotely disliked, let alone hated, so fingers crossed it keeps going that way. But there's a few books that I want to read the rest of this year that have not been getting good reps, so here's hoping that I like them. Number 6 is my biggest surprise of the year, and I'll be honest with you, this book shouldn't have been a surprise to me. It shouldn't have been even slightly. I knew I was going to give it 5 stars. It is Daisy Jones and the Six. Everyone loves this book. Everyone that's read it pretty much that I found has hyped this book up so much, and I was so excited. I bought it pretty quick after it released, and I just never got to it. It sat on my shelf. I started reading it a while back, and for some reason I ended up not finishing it, and I don't know if it was because I didn't like it. I don't know if it was because I started reading something else and I just didn't get to it, but I had stopped reading this for some reason. And I recently found it on Scribd and started listening to the audiobook, and I listened to the entire audiobook. I loved it. I gave it 5 stars. There's no reason this should have been a surprise. This is a book about the 70s music scene, and it is about a girl named Daisy Jones who ends up joining a band called The Six because she had been signed to do just one song with them, and they ended up getting along really well, and it's kind of just the story about the music scene and the story about them and their band and what they go through. I really love the 70s music scene. It's really cool to me. It's really important. I've always been a huge music nerd, so just knowing all that I can about music is super cool, and about the 70s and the music scene. So yeah, this guy, really good. If you haven't already picked it up, you probably have, but if you haven't, I would suggest reading this guy. Number 7 is a favorite author that is either new to me or a debut author. This is not a debut author, this is her 2nd book. It is Celeste Ng, who is the author of Little Fires Everywhere. Actually, as I was reading this book, I wasn't really sure how I felt about the book and the actual story, but pretty much the second half of the book I was obsessed with, I was in love with. I really liked the writing style throughout. Even if I didn't know how I felt in the beginning, I knew I liked the writing style. And I've actually picked up her 1st book, so I'm going to be reading that guy soon. But I just really like the way that she writes. I really like the voice in which she writes in, so I'm kind of hoping that her 1st novel is very similar. I've heard really good things about her in general from other people, so I'm very excited to read more of her work, and I really like it. So there's that. Number 8 is my newest fictional crush, and I was thinking pretty hard about this one because a lot of the time I fall in love with characters in books and I really think about them a lot, but because I've been reading so much this year, I haven't really felt super attached to a lot of the characters, so I had to think a lot about this. And then as I was going through my book list, I ended up actually, like my books that I've read this year, and I ended up actually remembering this guy. This is Emergency Contact by Mary H.K. Choi, and one of the main characters in this book is named Sam, and you can see an image of him on the front cover. One of my favorite quotes from this book is, I'm going to read it because I keep forgetting exactly what it is. One of my favorite quotes from this book is, "When I see a skinny white boy that looks like he hasn't slept in years." So if that doesn't explain my type, I don't know what is. All of my friends always make jokes to me that I really, really like skinny boys. I like all kinds of boys. I just end up becoming close to a lot of boys in my life that are very skinny and look like they haven't slept for years, and it makes a lot of sense. He also has a lot of tattoos. You probably don't know this because you can't see them. I have 10 tattoos myself, and I plan to have a lot more. I love tattoos. I love tattooed people. For a while, one of my Tinder bios was a joke about being tattooed and marrying someone who's tattooed so that we look like vagrants, but we actually just read a lot of books, which, hello, you're on my booktube channel where I talk about books. Obviously, I read a lot of books and love book reading. But yeah, just dark-haired, tall, skinny, looks like he hasn't slept in years. My friends have also said malnourished, so that makes sense, but I really, really love this character. I loved everything he stood for. He really liked baking. He really liked cinematography, which I also really like. Yeah, I just felt very compatible, and I actually spent a lot of time thinking about this character, so I don't know why this is a hard task for me, but there's that. Number 9 is my newest fave character, and as you guys know, I've already mentioned it already in this video, but I'm reading the Mortal Instruments books, and a character in the Mortal Instruments series is Magnus Bane, and as I'm reading City of Glass now, I'm starting to kind of get to know the characters a lot better and get to know their personalities and such, and so my answer for this is Magnus Bane, because I just really am starting to appreciate him as a character. I'm starting to appreciate, I like his witty remarks. I like that he seems like this sassy character who doesn't care for anybody, but in reality he's starting to really care for these people that are around him constantly, and I really appreciate that. And every time I read a chapter that he's mentioned, I kind of get super excited, so yes, I'm gonna go with that is one of my new favorite characters. Number 10 is a book that made me cry, and if you guys don't follow me on Instagram, you should. I have linked it down below. But if you don't, I posted a story of me just completely covered in makeup and completely covered in tears because I read the entire second half of this book in one evening and was just sobbing pretty much through the end of the book. It was really hard to read because I couldn't see through my tears, so I had to keep composing myself. But that book is 5 Feet Apart by Rachel Lippincott, Mickey Daughtry, and Tobias Iconis. I still don't know if I'm saying that properly. I really, really liked this book. It is a cute little story about 2 people that have cystic fibrosis and end up falling in love throughout the course of the book, but realize that they can't really have each other. For those of you who don't know, if you have cystic fibrosis, I believe it's all of the time. I wanted to say generally, but I believe basically you just can't be within 6 feet of anybody that has cystic fibrosis because you all have different kinds of bacteria and they can make you really, really sick and cause a lot of problems for you. Are you gonna sit here and join us? Are you chill if you were gonna? Hopefully he's not too much of a distraction. But yeah, so basically you can't come into contact with anybody with cystic fibrosis, so this love is a forbidden love. I don't know why. Sometimes I think it's dumb, but the majority of the time when I read that in a book, I love it. I love that trope in a book. I really don't want to, but I love it. This book just had me feeling a lot of things. It was really, really special, really cool, and I think it also depicted a realistic kind of story at the end there, and it kind of, yeah, I think it was really good, and I was crying the whole time. So if you want to cry in a book, I would highly suggest this guy. The next one is a book that made you happy, and I actually don't have a copy of this because I read my friend's copy of it, but it is Easy by Tamara Weber. This book is kind of about a forbidden love. The boy has basically decided that he is incapable of love and he doesn't want to love anybody because of trauma that he's had in his life, and she just has decided that she really likes this boy, but she doesn't think that she's in his league, and it's kind of that story. I will give a warning, a trigger warning for sexual violence. That's kind of what this book is about. He ends up being her savior through a kind of event, and that's kind of what starts off their love story, but it is kind of graphic. So I will give you that warning. If you can't read something like that, I would say don't read it, but otherwise I think it depicts it very well. I think it's a very, very thoughtful novel. I think it deals with the issue of sexual violence really, really well, and for that reason it made me very happy. It's funny, I'm talking about a sad book for making me happy, so we know what my reading tastes are. I like to read sad books. But yeah, it's just, I don't know, I really loved the story. My friend suggested it to me and she was kind of worried about me reading it because I don't like reading a lot of things about sexual violence and sexual assault. But I ended up really, really loving it, and every time I think about the book I have fond memories, and I just appreciate the way that it was written and the thought that was put into the book. So yeah. Number 12 is the most beautiful book you bought this year, and I have bought a couple gorgeous books this year, and I couldn't actually think about specifically what books I had bought this year because I buy a lot of books a lot of the time, so I don't really remember when I bought what. But I was recently on a trip to Canmore with some of my friends. They brought me for my birthday, and there is a bookstore there. I forget the name of it, but I will put it in the description down below so that you guys can see that. And I ended up finding this copy of The Phantom of the Opera. I really love the play. I've been to the play a few times now. I'm obsessed with the story. I've watched the movie so many times. I really love the story, and I've never actually read this book. So I purchased a copy of this book, but it is completely leather bound. The inside cover has pictures of the auditorium in which the play takes place. And it also has this beautiful mask that has keywords from the book, and I just think it's the most gorgeous thing I have ever seen, and I'm very happy that I have this as part of my collection. So that guy. 13 is a book or books you need to finish by the end of the year. So I need to finish The Battle of the Labyrinth and The Last Olympian by Rick Riordan, which are the Percy Jackson books. I have both of them here. I've been trying to finish this series for a while. I think I started reading it last year, and I have about just over a half of this book, and then this whole book, so 2 books. I want to finish them. I really want to finish the series. I want to move on to the next series that Rick Riordan has written, so I would like to finish these guys, and I've been trying to get through them forever, so why not finish them? So that is my goal for the rest of the year. Last question, but my favorite question, is one of your favorite community members right now. So one of my favorite community members is Naya Reads and Smiles. I will have all of her information linked down below so that you can check her out. But I really like her because she reads a lot of different books than I do. She's very positive. Every time I see her videos, it makes me really happy. She's really knowledgeable. I just really appreciate the voice that she's putting into the booktube community, and I think you guys might like her too. So I have put her info down below so that you guys can check her out as well. But yeah, that is the tag. Those are the books that I wanted to talk about today. If you liked it, you can like the video down below, and if you want, you can subscribe to my channel. I post videos about books. I used to be posting once a week, but because of school, I might be posting on a lesser schedule, so it might be 2 times a month. We're gonna keep trying to get as much content out there to you guys as I can, but I'm gonna be realistic with my school schedule. But yeah, that is the video. So I hope you guys have a great day, and I will see you next time. Bye.